Hello, students. My name is Jonathan Zeiss. I'm your professor here for THE 111, Introduction to Theater. I'm going to be posting videos like this as your lectures every Tuesday and Thursday by 3 p.m. This first one is going to be like your first class. Um, it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're just going to go through the syllabus. So, uh, without further ado, a lot of what I would introduce you to as far as the class is actually on the syllabus. So I'm just going to go ahead and share the syllabus here. Great. So you'll all find these in Canvas under the Files tab. It is the thing that here says THE 111 Intro to Theater Syllabus Fall 2021. Incidentally, that those yelps in the background, I do have two kids, Nathaniel, who is 4, and Beckett, who is 16 months, and their school starts next week. And so they're in the house right now, and they're kids. So pardon me if you hear a child laughing or whatnot in the background. That's what that is. So anyway, uh, on to the syllabus, right? You see THE 111 Intro to Theater Syllabus Fall 2021 jzis.docs.pd. Right. So I'm just going to go through it all, and if I come across something that I want to explain, I'll just explain. So we're obviously at EMCC. And like I said before, this is THE 111 Introduction to Theater. It is the fall of 2021. This is me, Jonathan Zeiss. Last name, it's Z-I-E-S-E. It rhymes with peace. So incidentally, when you email me or contact me, you can call me Mr. Zeiss or Professor Zeiss or Professor Jonathan, as long as you're respectful and you mean it in a respectful way. That's fine. You could even call me Jonathan. Office hours, conference by appointment via Zoom. Everyone's schedules are crazy, especially with doing things remote and other jobs, and which I'm sure you all have a lot of jobs and family stuff going on too. So if you need to talk to me back and forth, we can arrange something via Zoom. I am pretty good at replying to messages over Canvas, though, back and forth as well. Course title, yeah, you know this already. The class number you will never need. It is only helpful to register for this class, but 11815, yay. The class days, right, lectures will be posted Tuesdays and Thursdays. This says at 3 p.m. It'll be by 3 p.m. on Canvas. The class time, it doesn't have a time. It is asynchronous. So just so everyone is on the same page, there is no specific time where we're all going to meet together as a class, either in person or online. This will be entirely self-directed. The interactions between you all as students will occur on Canvas in the discussion sections that I'll talk to you about in a bit. Right, and the location is, there's the kid. The location of this class is the good old internet, 3 credit hours. Now the course description and goals, I did not write this, but it is a survey of theater, because it's intro to theater, including basic elements and principles of production styles and or historical perspectives of theater. It's going to be and these things, dramatic literature and criticism. Right, so what is this course about? It's an introduction to theater. Theater, because it is an art form, right? It is culture, right? Culture always has to do a lot with history. And so a lot of what we're going to be talking about is going to be based upon things in history. Even when we're talking about elements of theater itself, like writing or acting or designing or producing, those do have specific contexts within theater history. And so the timeline of the Western theater tradition, and I'll talk to you why I say Western later, but it's going to be under the umbrella of history, but we will talk about other specific things kind of pulled out of history. Prereqs done, wahoo. Required texts, just essentially I will be providing plays for you in Canvas. I have scanned them. I'm going to be putting them into Canvas so that you will not have to go buy the plays themselves. But those are required texts. You do need to read the plays. You do need to watch these videos. They are a text, as it were, so they are also required. The official course competencies, which again, I did not write these, but define the theater as a unique performing art. That is a question that I, I don't think can be definitively answered. But we will define the things that we think of when we think of theater, right? We all kind of know what theater is. Read and analyze selective representative plays for plot, purpose, form, characters, and themes. So we are going to be reading 7 plays. And you won't just read them for your own kind of edification. We will be talking about them, discussing them. You will be having, quizzes and that sort of thing as well. 3, identify and describe major period, style, social issues, and personalities in theater history, right? That's kind of what I was talking about, the whole history. Number 4, attend and critique selected theater performances. Yay. It will be a requirement that you go see at least one piece of theater. And I promise this is not because of self-promotion, but probably the easiest one, the most accessible one to you all will be the play that EMCC, the Performing Arts Center, is putting on in the fall. It is, I am directing it. It's called Look Back in Anger by John Osborne. But if you want to see another play, that's fine too. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those requirements as the semester goes on. Number 6, compose written discourse about theatrical works and issues. So, write about your opinions about the plays. Identify and describe career opportunities in the theater, right? So that's good. Do you want to be a lighting designer? That's a career opportunity, as box office, publicity, nonprofit management, including, and that does not include the more obvious ones like, hey, I want to be an actor, I want to be a playwright, I want to be a director, right? So the official course outline, and I apologize, a lot of these things are going to overlap and cover kind of the same things, because right here, yeah, a lot of the course competencies and the course outline will seem kind of similar, but we'll just go through that. The theater experience. The theater as an art form. What is the theater as an art? I don't know how you can talk about theater as something other than as an art, because that's what it is, but okay. The actor-audience relationship, right? There's a lot of different types of theater, but something that all theater does have in common, there is a art and there is someone that witnesses it in a way. So there is an audience and there is an actor, maybe. Some plays, I'll have you read a play that actually does not have any actors. Theater's uniqueness and conventions, right? Why is theater different than radio? Right? This sort of thing we kind of get, but analysis and criticism of selected plays and scenes, right? Of course, we're going to be reading plays and scenes. Now, number 2, dramatic structure, form, and style. Now, I love structure, not because I think there is a specific structure that every play must adhere to, but I believe every play does have a structure. And I think you can learn a lot about the play by looking at how the play goes about telling its story, and in form and style as well. We'll be talking a lot about styles, because as in anything, dealing with culture, different styles come into vogue or fashion during different periods of time. Elements of play construction, major genres and styles, right? Again, an analysis and criticism of selected plays and scenes. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of analysis and criticism. Number 3, historical and contemporary perspectives. Now, we are going to start and we are going to focus in this class on the Western theater tradition. And there is the reason for that, although not exclusively, but the reason we're going to focus on it is because it is the tradition that has most informed where theater is in the United States. And a lot of what we consider kind of modern theater around the world is the Western theater tradition. Now, that is not fair, right? Certainly. And the reason that people know about the Poetics more than the Natya Shastra, which is a ancient Sanskrit treatise on art and touches on the elements of theater as well, is because of, you know, racism, imperialism, all that nice good stuff. But because that is where our tradition does come from, we will be looking at theater history through the lens of, you know, going from, you know, Aristotle and Sophocles, right, in ancient Greece, you know, through Shakespeare, through neoclassicism, to modernism, to contemporary abstract, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start classical Greek and Roman theater. The reason we're starting with ancient Greece is those are the oldest extant plays that we have. Extant means they still exist, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about this. The oldest play that we have a name for is actually an Egyptian play. But the oldest plays that we actually have the play, the script for, are from ancient Greece, going through Rome, right? And then medieval and Renaissance theater, 18th and 19th century. I mean, you know what they are, what an 18th or 19th century is, even if you don't know what happened in theater. Modern and contemporary revolts, and then non-Western theater. We are going to be talking about East Asian theater, pre-Columbian American theater. Yeah. And then kind of production personnel and processes. What is a producer? That's a good question. What is a playwright? What is an actor, dancer, and musician? What is a director? What are designers in physical environment? What do they do? So that's kind of what the class is going to be about. It is apropos to name it, you know, Introduction to Theater. Grading policies, this will not come as a surprise to anyone, right? If you get a 90 up to perfect, you're excellent, you have an A, right? In the 80s is a B, the 70s is a C, the 60s is a D, and anything less than that is an F. Unless there are extreme extenuating circumstances, no incompletes will be issued. And that is something that I will decide how extenuating the circumstance is. I am a reasonable person, and you are welcome to argue your point if you really do feel like an incomplete is deserved, but they probably won't be. Expect to complete all classwork prior to the end of the semester, obviously, because you want your grades as much as I want to put them in. Communications policy. So how are we going to communicate with each other? Most of the information from me you'll get in Canvas. So turn on your Canvas notifications. You all have a Maricopa Gmail account. Incidentally, when you do email, my email address, jonathanzeese@estrellamountain.edu, please email me from your Maricopa or Estrella Mountain email. And when you're going into, like, for example, I'm going to be hosting these lectures on YouTube, right? My Maricopa Gmail account's YouTube page that we all get. And certain things dealing with either forms or sharing documents don't work as well if you're outside of what the Maricopa County Community College Gmail recognizes as kind of from inside the system, right? And so things will work better if you communicate with me via the Maricopa email address, Gmail, rather than a personal email address. So, right, communications initiated from Canvas will come via your Maricopa EDO account, right? So check that email. If you need to forward it to another email address, that's, you do you. But I will send it to those and expect you to see it. Most of the time I'll communicate with you via Canvas though. There's my 4-year-old. The syllabus, as we're going through it, right? You're responsible to know and understand. If you have any questions, normally if I were doing this in class, I would periodically pause, be like, hey, does anyone have any questions for what I said? Obviously I can't do that right now, but you are more than welcome to, comment or message me individually. But so you're responsible to know. I put this syllabus in the file section so it will always be available for you. Financial aid, And some of this is kind of dicta that are in a lot of syllabi, but if you're receiving financial aid, it is your responsibility to protect your eligibility, right? Do not come to me and say, hey, I need a better grade so that I keep my financial aid. That's not on me to do. That is on you to do. Disability policy. So we would like everyone to know we are willing to make any reasonable accommodation for limitations due to any disability, including learning disabilities. Please see us to discuss any potential or any special needs you might have. Students with disabilities who believe they may need accommodations in the class must request accommodations from the Disability Resource Center. Email addresses. Or drc@estrellamountain.edu. When you receive authorization forms from them, please provide them to the instructors right away. So, um, uh, learning comes easily or more difficult to everybody, right? And some people do have disabilities that that make it harder to not even necessarily understand the material, but to read or to access it or these sorts of things. So if you do have a disability, I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to go to the Disability Resource Center and make it, I guess, official, as it were. And the reason that you want to do that is, and the reason I want you to do that is, even if you tell me that you need a special accommodation, and I know that you need a special accommodation due to a disability, I cannot actually give you that accommodation unless the school tells me. And so if you do have a disability and need an accommodation, either like, hey, I have dyslexia, I need extra time to read stuff, or extra time to take a quiz, right? Those sorts of things need to go through them because I am not allowed to give you any sort of accommodation of that type unless the school tells me, right? So you need to go to them and then they come to me. But please do. If there's any other kind of accommodations other than disability related, still talk to me. Um, I we may be able to work something out, but I can't do anything disability related. Those sorts of accommodations treat you differently than other students in that way, unless Disability Resource Center tells me I can. Um, and I definitely didn't write this. The EMCC faculty and staff have identified institutional learning outcomes they would like all students to enhance, oh my God, while they attend EMCC. Therefore, communication and or critical thinking will be assessed in oral or written form. Students may also be assessed in information literacy, quantitative reasoning, technological literacy, and finally, social, civic, and global responsibility. Student mastery of the institutional learning outcomes is measured using Bloom's taxonomy as a gauge for measuring critical thinking. The abilities matrix and more information about each of these abilities can be found on the EMCC Student Achievement Committee website at blah. There's a lot of jargon there. But it means there are a lot of things that the school wants you, a lot of different ways and avenues that the school would like you to learn, right? Whether it be kind of social engagement, right? Taking the material and applying it to the world around us. Critical thinking skills, thinking deeply about different texts and about the material, being able to integrate technology into your learning, right? A lot of these things. And so they will all be assessed in some way or another. That's basically what they're saying. Attendance. So this is asynchronous, so there's no class time, but you will be able to mark your attendance with weekly participation on Canvas in response to the twice weekly posted lectures, and that'll be a requirement. And if you go dark for a while, that will be like you're missing a number of classes, and I could drop you. I won't without warning, but I could. Class policies. Lectures will be posted on Canvas twice weekly on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. or by 3 p.m. At the end of the lecture, I will be posting several discussion questions. You'll be required to have a minimum of one response or contribution to one of the two discussions posted every week. These discussion contributions will be due by each Sunday at 10 p.m. The more contributions you make, the better your weekly participation grade will be, right? So it's not, oh, you type, oh, I agree, and then you get perfect credit for that week. No, you can put a little work into it. That's the whole point of learning, right? That's why you're here. You'll have sufficient time to read the plays, and it is expected that they will be read by the time each class discussion occurs. Read the play. Please read the play. You're required to read the play. And there will be short quizzes. Yay. Each quiz, once they're posted, you'll have until 10 p.m. the following day to turn the answers to said quiz. Yeah. And all the assignments will be posted. There will be specific lectures devoted to this discussions of each play as well. Okay. So kind of how the semester is going to go, what you might call the, if this were a video game, the gameplay loop, right? So what do? You'll notice every 2 weeks, we will be discussing a play that we started to read 2 weeks before, right? So Tuesday, September 7th, we're discussing Medea. 2 weeks later on the 21st, we're discussing Sapientia. 2 weeks later on October 5th, we're discussing Othello, right? And so that will happen every 2 weeks. You're going to be given 2 weeks to read a full-length play, and then another 2 weeks, then another 2 weeks, then another 2 weeks. And that will take up every fourth class day of discussion, right? So the other 3 out of 4 classes throughout the semester will be the lectures about other, either histories, either historical elements or different parts of theater as well. So like right now, we are doing this lecture, Introduction and Review Syllabus. We are doing this right now because it's today. Next time, we're going to talk about where does theater come from, and then we're going to introduce Greek theater, right? Sophocles, Euripides, Aeschylus, Aristophanes, whatever. And we're going to read the Poetics. Well, we're going to talk about the Poetics, which is amazing. Written by Aristotle. Yes, that Aristotle. You didn't think that Aristotle would be involved in theater, did you? Unless you already knew. That's okay. And that kind of just goes normal until the midterm, right? October 12th, there is going to be a midterm, and it's going to be due the 17th, right? Within 5 days. And then after that, we're going to pick up right where we left off, right? With more plays and whatnot. Read Top Dog, Underdog. Obviously, I'm not going to post a lecture on Thanksgiving because it's Thanksgiving. And then our final discussion is going to be Thursday. That's the only time that it's going to be on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday because Thanksgiving. And then the final exam, right? And it's easy. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Academic support, right? If you need help, whether writing or critical thinking, understanding what in the world is going on in these plays or whatever, academic support is there for you. I believe it's mostly online now, but astradeamount.edu/student/tutoring. Writing style. Now we're getting into other things about kind of what is personal to me and what I want as far as writing. I do not expect you to adhere to a specific prescriptive writing style. Like I don't require you to do MLA or Chicago or APA or what have you. I will not be grading using those formats as my guide for grading. However, I will be grading on clarity and readability. So if you find that you'd like some guidance as to how to format your paper, I'd look here, right? That's a link to Purdue University's MLA style guide. Now, the way I know that some other classes here do require specifically MLA, but a certain kind of writing style. And my philosophy of it is, so we're going to be reading plays. Most of the things that we are going to be reading do not at all follow these styles. And so it would be, and they have all stood the test of time. And so demonstrably in this class, you do not need to adhere to any writing style to have a lasting impact, right? And so I don't expect you to. That would seem kind of silly. But the reason that they come up with those style guides is because if you do use those style guides, then you will be, they are a way to make sure that you are intelligible, that your writing is clear and readable and all that stuff. And so if you can already make your writing clear, I know what you're talking about, I know where you're going, I know how things are structured, that's great. Then you don't need those writing styles. But if you're like, I don't really know how to put this together, then I would recommend using a writing style. But just to help you, not to help your grade directly. Plagiarism. So I have caught students plagiarizing a number of times. Sometimes it has been, you know, oh, I forgot to put quotation marks around this and cite this source. And other times it has been, I copied something word for word and tried to launder it through Google Translate, right? And I have caught all of them. Keep in mind that the harder it takes for me to catch something, the more likely it is that it was intentional, right? If it's easy to catch, it was more likely that it was an accident. So do not plagiarize. Do not do it. I myself, a little biography about me. I have my master's degree in acting. I am a professional actor. I acted professionally in New York for 10 years. And as an artist, I consider authorship almost maybe close to like sacred. It is something that you need to honor. And stealing someone else's words is a particular affront to people whose careers and educations are based upon their own thoughts and their own words, right? And so it is almost a personal insult to me if you plagiarize, not just because you're plagiarizing in my class and I'm your teacher, but because I'm an artist and you do not take someone else's hard work without giving them credit for it. So don't do it. And again, a plagiarism is not even necessarily a word for word copy paste, right? That is not the only way to plagiarize. It is intentionally or unintentionally using someone else's work, not necessarily their sentence, but it is their work, right? So don't plagiarize another student, an article online, a previous paper you wrote, or anything. I take it very seriously. It is not only loathsome, but it is insulting to me, unfair to your classmates, and a disservice to yourself. And again, good old mathematical, just to drive it home, wikipedia.com plus thesaurus.com does not equal an original idea. So if you use someone else's words, use quotation marks and cite them. If you use someone else's idea, cite them as well. Don't cheat. Cheating includes use of unauthorized assistance in taking quizzes or other examinations. So don't do that. Dependence on the aid of sources beyond those authorized by the faculty member. Or the acquisition without permission of tests or other academic material belonging to a member of the college, faculty, or staff. Incidences of plagiarism or cheating will result in a failing grade for the assignment and possibly other disciplinary action. Even if it is a simple, oh my gosh, I forgot to put quotation marks around this. I'll do it right now. You will have a 0 until you fix it. All plagiarism gets a 0, and that is at minimum. Don't forget, and this isn't the case for our class, this isn't relevant to our class, but just remember, when you're on campus and you're inside a building, you have to wear a mask. That is a reinstated policy as of 12 days ago, and applies to everybody. So if you see me on campus, I will be wearing a mask, and so will you if you're inside. There's cleaning protocols, whatever. And also, I reserve the right to modify the class. If, for instance, if I'm reading your papers and I think, you know what, instead of this play, I think they should really read that other play, then I'll change it. I will give you fair warning. I was a student too. I was in college for 4 years and graduate school for an additional 3. I have been a student and I know what it is like for a professor to change things at the last minute and act like they didn't. So I'm not going to do that. I think of myself as a very fair person. And I'll announce them on campus, right? So that's the syllabus. Again, if you have any questions at all, please, please, please let me know, message me. And if it seems like something relevant to everybody, I will make an announcement, right? Pay attention to your announcements in Canvas. That's going to be the main way that I communicate to everybody as a class. And incidentally, The plays that we're going to read, because I want to talk about that, is Medea by Aeschylus. He was a ancient Greek tragedian. Um, Sapientia by Roswitha of Gandersheim, who was well, there wasn't Germany back then, but she was German, a nun who wrote a play in the Middle Ages, like, 11th century or something. And then Othello by our good friend William Shakespeare. Tartuffe by our good friend Moliere, the most famous French playwright. And this is actually also really kind of the only comedy. I mean, The Good Woman of Sichuan kind of is. It's more of like an ironic comedy, but this is a straight comedy. It's fun. The Good Woman of Sichuan by Bertolt Brecht. It's a very interesting play. And then Maria Irene Fornes, she wrote a play, Fefu and Her Friends, which is interesting in terms of staging and how the play occurs. We'll get to that. And then Susan Laurie Park's Top Dog Underdog, which is a play that I love for a lot of reasons. But those are the plays. We're going to read a couple of shorter ones in the midst of class time, the ones that are shorter, and definitely scenes from plays. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Where am I? Stop sharing. Where's stop share? Stop share. There I am. Okay, now I'm big again. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know. And that is, I suppose, the lecture. Cool. I will see you all soon.